Imagine two men who have never met, living 400 miles apart, and somehow making the exact same decisions their entire lives, down to the names of the women they married and the dog they chose to bring home. That's not a hypothetical. It happened. Two brothers, separated 4 weeks after birth, raised by strangers in different towns. Both grew up to marry a woman named Linda, divorce her, and then marry a second wife named Betty. Both named their firstborn sons the same name. Both drove the same model of car. Both built a small white bench around a tree in their backyard. The same tree, the same year, without ever having seen the other's house. They didn't meet until they were 39 years old. And what happened when researchers studied them didn't just surprise the scientific world. It unsettled it. Their names were Jim Springer and Jim Lewis. And in 1979, a psychologist named Thomas Bouchard heard rumors of their story and tracked them down. He wasn't chasing anything mystical. He was trying to answer a question that had divided psychology for 100 years. How much of who we are comes from our genes, and how much comes from the life we're handed after we're born? What he found in the Jim twins felt less like data and more like a glitch in the story of identity itself. And the deeper he looked, the stranger it got. Beyond the names and the bench, the coincidences kept stacking. Both men had worked part-time as sheriff's deputies. Both vacationed on the same 3-block strip of a Florida beach, at different times, never crossing paths. Both bit their nails to the same ragged edge. Both developed tension headaches at the same age, described in nearly identical language, as if they were reading from the same internal script neither of them had ever seen. Bouchard began to wonder whether he had stumbled onto something larger than one unusual pair of brothers. So he built a registry, a place where twins raised apart could come forward and be studied side by side. 56 pairs eventually joined. And the pattern the Jim twins showed didn't fade with a larger sample. It got harder to explain. The case that troubled researchers even more involved two brothers named Oscar and Jack, born in Trinidad in 1933 and separated in infancy. Oscar was raised by his grandmother in Nazi Germany and joined the Hitler Youth as a boy. Jack was raised in a Jewish household in the Caribbean and later fought for Israel. On paper, these were two men shaped by opposing forces in one of history's darkest chapters. You'd expect almost nothing to survive that split intact. But when they finally met as adults, both wore the same style of wire-rimmed glasses. Both read magazines from back to front. Both flushed the toilet before using it, out of some habit neither could explain. Both liked startling strangers by sneezing loudly in elevators. Two men, raised on opposite sides of history's worst ideological divide, still carrying the same small, strange fingerprints. So how much of a person actually belongs to the world they grew up in? And how much was already decided the moment they were born? That question gets darker the further you go, because not every separation researchers studied was accidental. Some were deliberate. In New York in the 1960s, 3 identical baby boys, Eddie, David, and Robert, were placed for adoption by an agency that split them up on purpose into a working-class family, a middle-class family, and a wealthy one. Researchers then visited each household for years, quietly observing how 3 genetically identical children developed in 3 different worlds. The parents were never told the truth. They believed they were part of an ordinary developmental study. They had no idea their sons had brothers, living nearby, growing up in parallel. The 3 boys found each other by accident at 19, when a college student mistook one of them for a friend he already knew. Within a single day, all 3 had reunited, and the resemblance wasn't just physical. Their gestures matched, their laughs matched, even their taste in cigarettes matched. It looked, for a moment, like a joyful ending. It wasn't, because to this day, nobody has ever fully explained why the families were kept in the dark, or what the researchers were actually trying to prove by watching from a distance, while three brothers grew up as strangers. Back in Minnesota, Bouchard's registry kept producing results that chipped away at a comforting assumption most people hold: that we are primarily shaped by our upbringing, our parents, the home we were raised in. Identical twins raised in completely separate households scored remarkably close to each other on deep personality traits: anxiety, openness, the need for order, often closer than fraternal twins raised together, under the same roof, by the same parents, under the same rules. That statistic quietly rewrote a long-standing belief. It suggested that a surprising portion of who we become was already written before either family ever held us. But not every pair in the registry matched so closely. Some twins turned out almost nothing alike. And that gap, the space where the pattern breaks, is where the real explanation was hiding the whole time. So which is it? Are we written in advance, or built by the life we're given? The truth sits somewhere colder and more interesting than either extreme. Genes don't hand you a finished life. They hand you tendencies: a pull toward anxiety, a leaning toward order, an appetite for risk. What happens next depends entirely on where that tendency lands. The same genetic pull toward risk can turn one twin into a surgeon and the other into someone who never stays in one city for long. Same wiring, different rooms to grow inside of. That's why the Jim twins both drifted toward law enforcement, even though one used it to find structure and the other used it to find purpose. That's why Oscar and Jack carried the same strange little habits into two different wars, one using discipline to survive fascism, the other to survive displacement. The bench around the tree was never proof of fate. It was proof that some parts of a person were never really a choice to begin with. Go back to where this started. Two brothers, two Lindas, two Bettys, two identical benches built around two identical trees, 400 miles and 39 years apart. It wasn't fate reaching across the distance between them. It was two copies of the same instruction manual, opened by two different lives, landing again and again on strangely matching pages. The unsettling part was never that they turned out the same. It's how much sameness surfaced without either of them trying. Here's the one thing worth sitting with. You didn't write the instruction manual you were born with, but you're still the one deciding what gets built from it. Twins raised in entirely separate worlds still found their way to strangely similar rooms, but it was still them who walked through the door. Nature loads the gun, life decides where it points,